Greetings and thank you for tuning in to the Active Transportation Resource Center, or ATRC, Flash Training Series. The purpose of our Flash trainings is to provide quick tutorials on key topics and tools for the Active Transportation Program, or ATP, applicants and prospective awardees. The title of this training is Master Agreements for Non-Traditional Transportation Partners. If you're not already familiar with the ATRC, please know that it's our mission to provide resources, technical assistance, and training to transportation partners across California to increase opportunities for the success of active transportation projects. For all of our Flash trainings, we've created learning objectives. This training will provide a definition of Caltrans Local Assistance Master Agreement and how master agreements are an essential part of transportation programming, an overview of the process of obtaining a master agreement, including necessary requirements, key tasks, and anticipated timelines, 2 case studies, including a school district and a nonprofit organization that pursued a master agreement as part of their active transportation program grants, alternate considerations and arrangements for non-traditional transportation partners, common challenges and potential solutions for new master agreement applicants, and links to helpful resources and supports. We'll begin. What is a master agreement? A master agreement is an essential document between Caltrans and a local agency that is required for administering local assistance projects and receiving reimbursements for project expenses. All selected active transportation program awardees must have an active master agreement with Caltrans Local Assistance in order to administer ATP projects. Most cities and county public works or transportation departments across California already have a master agreement in place. As such, Caltrans refers to them as traditional partners. Entities such as school districts, county offices of education, special community service districts, and universities are what Caltrans refers to as non-traditional partners. These entities often do not have existing master agreements with Caltrans Local Assistance. Additional master agreement terms and conditions for receiving federal aid and state funds are provided in the Local Assistance Procedure Manual, Chapter 4, at the link provided. It's important to note that there are 2 types of master agreements, one for federal aid funds and one for state funds. After master agreements are executed, individual projects have project-specific agreements that are then tied to that master agreement. As a reference, this slide gives an example of a state-funded agreement. As you can see, the agreement details unique identifying information, including the agency's name, the Caltrans Local Assistance District number, and the state master agreement number. In comparison, this is an example of a master agreement for a federal aid project. Again, you'll see it contains unique identifying information, including the administering agency's name, the Caltrans Local Assistance District number, where future projects will be administered, and the federal aid master agreement number. It's important to know up front, as you're thinking about your ATP project, the requirements that are needed for obtaining a new master agreement. It's also important to know that all agencies must have a master agreement prior to implementing their first project. In addition, all agencies must have a project programmed prior to requesting that master agreement. The procedures to attain a new master agreement, in addition to a low code, which is a term I'll describe a little bit more later, are available at the following link. This document is referred to as Who's Rules, and it outlines the steps for the process of obtaining a new master agreement. In summary, these steps are requesting initiation, the pre-award audit, low code generation, and master agreement processing. I'll detail some of the specifics for each of these steps in the rest of this presentation. But first, please note that if you're a visual learner, there are existing Caltrans resources that can give you an overview of the process. The link to this document is again available at the end of this presentation. Here's the breakdown of each of the steps. The first step is requesting initiation. To do this, the local agency will first submit a new low-code master agreement request form to their district local assistance engineer. This form is found as part of the Who's Rules document. The DLAE will then review, concur, and forward the same document to Caltrans headquarters local assistance, and specifically the low-code coordinator. For contact information for your district local assistance engineer, please use the link provided. Once the master agreement request form is forwarded to Caltrans headquarters local assistance, this begins the next step, which is the pre-award audit. This includes the following steps. Caltrans Audits and Investigation receives the request initiation form from headquarters and then begins to perform its pre-award audit. The primary focus of the audit is to ensure that the financial management system of the applying agency is adequate for administering federal or state funds. More information is available at the link provided, but it's important to know that through the pre-award audit process, Caltrans determines if the accounting system of the applying agency is able to accumulate and segregate reasonable, allocable, and allowable costs for either the federal or state-funded project. It's also important to note that recent pre-award audits have normally taken 6 to 12 months to complete. After Caltrans Audits and Investigation completes its scheduling for the audit itself, reporting, and communication, including resolutions to any findings, audits and investigations will then follow up with Caltrans headquarters local assistance, who then issues the agency a unique 4-digit identifier, which is called a low code. That's the third part of the process. This low code will then be utilized in processing of all agencies' requests and agreements. The issue of the low code leads us to the last step, which is referred to as master agreement processing. This involves the mailing of the final master agreement to the requesting agency. This mailing will also include additional processing instructions. It's important to know that the master agreement processing typically takes 2 to 3 months to complete. And it is after the master agreement is executed that an agency can then submit to the California Transportation Commission allocation requests and/or requests for federal authorization to proceed and subsequently begin reimbursable work. Here are 2 case studies of agencies that pursued master agreements as part of their ATP programs. The first is San Juan Unified School District, who initiated a master agreement request in September of 2014. As you'll see, the pre-award audit took approximately 7 months to complete, and it was determined that there were no findings. So very soon after, a master agreement was executed, and the project was allowed to allocate funds beginning in May 2015. This project is currently active, and San Juan Unified has been able to invoice for most of its funding, and it's in good standing with Caltrans. This second case study is from the Los Angeles River Revitalization Corporation, which was also an ATP Cycle 1 project. They initiated their master agreement request in January 2015, and as you can see, it took roughly 6 months for the pre-award audit to take place. The audit did indicate some findings that then the River Corps had to address. It was during this period that the River Corps then began discussions with the City of Los Angeles to determine if LA could then work with the Corps as the administering agency for the project. I think it's important to note through this case study that the pursuit of the master agreement by the River Corps added some unexpected delays to their anticipated start for their ATP project. We can see through this case study that the construction contract has been awarded, and River Corps is also in good standing for its ATP project. So these 2 case studies help highlight some common challenges as well as potential solutions that we think you should be aware of. First off, as a major challenge is to recognize that obtaining a master agreement takes time, approximately 12 to 18 months, and this can sometimes delay your anticipated project start date. Here's a breakdown of some time that's associated with each of the steps. Requesting initiation can take up to 2 weeks. The pre-award audit can take between 6 to 12 months due to possible corrective actions or findings that can add more time to that process. Master agreement processing and issuance of the load code, as discussed before, takes approximately 3 months. And this is all in addition to the allocation process which is standard for transportation projects, and which can take up to 8 weeks. So our solution is to be aware upfront of timeframes and to plan accordingly, especially during the ATP application development process. Here's some more common challenges and potential solutions. The challenge is that, as we all know, there are extensive federal and state requirements for local assistance funding. So the solution is to review and be familiar with local assistance reference materials, including master agreement language and the local assistance procedural manual. We also encourage you to consider partnering with a local agency that has an existing master agreement and that has existing expertise in delivering local assistance projects. In conclusion, Caltrans Local Assistance supports and encourages new and non-traditional transportation partners to participate in the Active Transportation Program. Applicants without master agreements are encouraged to consider partnering with those with existing master agreements. If an agency is certain that it intends to administer a project itself, Local Assistance highly recommends that the materials provided and linked to in this presentation are utilized fully. And as mentioned, here are some useful links. The first is a link to Pool's rules, procedures for requesting the low-code master agreement, as well as sublinks to accounting and auditing guidelines, master agreement language, and the status of pre-award audits. The next link is the actual local assistance procedure manual, and Chapter 4, once again, is the chapter that deals with agreements. The third link provides you with sample master agreements, both federal and state-funded master agreements. And lastly, there's a contact list for your district local assistance engineer. And that's what we have for you on master agreements. Thank you.